new tram line in Vienna, the public transportation crisis in Argentina, thousands of new trees in Lyon, and many more. Hello everyone, and welcome to the next Urban News episode, where we will discuss some interesting urban-related news I found in recent days. In Vienna, Austria, they've just started construction of a new tram line number 27 in the north of the city, which will connect Strebersdorf and the Aspern Nord metro station on the U2 line. The line will create the transport hub where the subway, city railway, trams and buses will meet at one point. In addition, there will be a park and ride zone for 1,500 cars near the Aspern Nord station. And within the walking distance of the new tram line, there are about 34,000 residents who will now have much better public transportation. The new line will partially use the existing tracks together with the line 26, and besides them, the city plans to build 2.4 kilometers of new tracks and 6 new stops. And about 800 meters of these new tracks will be on the brand new street named Hirschstädtner Hauptallee. There will be no car traffic on it, only tram tracks, bicycle lanes and sidewalks. And also there will be planted 300 new trees. The construction is to begin with the installation of a 120-meter bridge that will allow trams to cross the subway and railway tracks. The works are scheduled to be completed in 2025. And it is probably worth adding a little bit more context here for a better understanding. Vienna public transportation system is considered to be one of the best in the world. It has a subway system with 5 lines and one of the largest tram networks in the world with 30 lines. And as you can see, they have no plans to stop developing. Besides this, the area to which the new tram line will be laid is also interesting. The Aspern-Seestadt district began to be built in 2012 on the site of a former aerodrome and industrial facilities, and public transportation was launched almost immediately. The subway started running there in 2013 when the first buildings were just under construction. So from the very beginning, residents of the district had a good transport connection, which now will be improved by the new tram line. In general, the district is designed in such a way that it is quite self-sufficient. There are residential buildings, office complexes, public spaces and a park with a lake in the center. So if you are interested in urbanism, Aspern-Seestadt definitely should be one of your places to see in Vienna. The capital of Iraq, Baghdad, has announced an investment tender for the construction of a subway system in the city. The system should consist of 7 lines with a total length of 150 kilometers, which should be operated by driverless trains. In addition, there should be 4 train maintenance depots and 2 traffic control centers. The trains should have cars of different classes, including separate cars for women with children and tourists. The city is waiting for investors to make their proposals for the project development, construction and operation of the subway system. And the investor will also have to take all the risks associated with this. So how do you think? Will they find an investor? The president of the Greater Lyon agglomeration wrote that during this winter the city planted 56,000 new trees, which is a new record. For a comparison, a year ago they've planted about 25,000, which is also a very solid number. The trees are being planted right on the streets and also in new green areas. For example, in the city of Bron they have planted 186 trees on 4 sites for a total of 253,000 euros, and this amount includes not only the planting but also the cost of tree care for the next 4 years. And overall this is a very good initiative, as trees are very important for creating a comfortable urban environment. Florida dominates list of deadliest counties for US cyclists. On the top 10 deadliest areas for cycling in the US, 7 are in Florida, according to a new analysis of federal highway data. The study, conducted by Georgia-based law firm Bader Scott, analyzed data from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration from the 200 most populous counties in the country, as well as the number of traffic crashes in each county in which cyclists were killed between 2017 and 2021. The most dangerous was Pasco County near Tampa, Florida, with a population of about 562,000 people, where 40 cyclists died, which is more than 7 deaths per 100,000 people. Sarasota and Manatee counties in Florida ranked second and third with a cyclist fatality rates of 5.53 and 5.25 per 100,000. According to the study, the numbers illustrate the concentration of cyclist safety issues in certain areas, especially in Florida. Such a high mortality rate is also a product of extremely car-oriented urban infrastructure. And it is obvious that in this case, cycling will never become a really mass mobility mode. Whether the United States can change this situation is a very big rhetorical question. Meanwhile, the Argentine government, after the new president Javier Milei came to power, started to cut budget spendings and, among other things, cancelled state subsidies for public transportation. Moreover, the government not only cancelled subsidies in the future, but also didn't transfer to the cities the funds for January and February, when formally this decision hadn't been made yet. Considering the 2-month inflation rate near 50%, the situation for city budgets became very difficult, and each city is now looking for a solution on its own. The city of Cordoba has already increased the ticket price from 340 to 700 pesos. Now it is about 83 US cents, which makes the fare there one of the most expensive in the country. At the same time, the city of Rosario performed its own study which showed that the ticket price should be 1,343 pesos. The same study in December showed a price of 742 pesos, so in 2 months the ticket price increased by more than 80%. Due to the lack of subsidies and inflation, public transportation is under threat, so the city plans to declare a state of emergency in transportation to be able to maintain its operation at the expense of other funds and avoid raising fares for residents. And while Rosario city officials are looking for a way out, the number of buses on the lines already has been significantly reduced. On some routes, the headway has increased from 12 to 22 minutes, and on some others even to 35-40 minutes. So during the peak hours, buses are heavily overcrowded. And next week the problem may become even worse, as the school year starts and the number of passengers is expected to increase by another 30%. A coalition of city mayors has already appealed to the court to stop the subsidy cancellation. Also, last week, a delegation of 40 mayors from different Argentine cities visited the Congress to gain support from the deputies and propose their solutions. And one of the mayor's proposals is to change distribution of the fuel tax, which is paid by all Argentines but goes to the budget of Buenos Aires. So currently public transportation in Argentine cities is operating at the limit, and the next week could be critical and decisive. By the way, Rosario and Cordoba have trolleybus systems, and if the issue of transport financing won't be resolved, we might be able to observe their closure, which of course we don't want to. The Irish capital Dublin plans to ban transit traffic in the city center. After the introduction of these changes, only those cars and trucks that have their final destination there will be able to enter the city center, and all others will have to take a detour. These measures are expected to reduce traffic in the city center by 60% and improve air quality. As a result, the city plans to create new pedestrian streets and squares, which will make Dublin's city center a more livable and pleasant place. At the same time, public transport will still be able to pass through the city center. For this purpose, 2 bus gates are planned to be arranged, which will not allow private cars to pass. Also, several streets will be reconfigured so that vehicles traveling into the downtown are routed along loops that ultimately direct them back out in the same direction. The authors of Dublin Plan refer to the concept of 15-minute city, which aims to allow residents to reach all major destinations within 15 minutes on foot or by bicycle as a key goal. Notably, while attempts to limit car traffic in some city centers in Great Britain have met with angry opposition from car drivers, Dublin's plan so far has overwhelming public support. More than 80% out of 3,500 respondents to a public poll said they supported the plan, which is a strong endorsement for a city that hasn't had a reputation for progressive urban policy until now. And interesting that one of the few opponents of the changes was Diageo, the London-based company that owns the Guinness brand. They warned that the plans would break historic truck routes from the Guinness brewery along the River Liffey to the port. In parallel with this project, the city is also planning to build a subway line from the city center to the airport. However, despite all the optimism, the Dublin authorities still predict that modal share of private cars will be 42% in 2042. That's less than 52% in 2016, but it's still a very modest expectation and already behind other cities like Paris or Amsterdam. So this is the news I found interesting this week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for watching and see you in the next videos. And don't forget to subscribe.